I have been watching General Hospital for a long time, and lately I feel like something very dangerous is quietly building beneath the surface. I could be wrong, and this is just my interpretation, but in my opinion, Nina saving Valentine may have created a much bigger problem than she realizes. I think the moment Nina used that syringe on Brennan instead of Drew may become the turning point that blows open the entire situation with Drew, Willow, Sidwell, and Nina herself. Right now, the situation feels extremely unstable. Nina acted in a panic, and I understand why she did it. From my point of view, Nina was not thinking like a strategist in that moment. She was thinking like someone who saw Valentine's life hanging by a thread. She grabbed the one thing that could stop Brennan, and she used it. In that instant, I think Nina believed she was choosing survival. She probably told herself there was no time to calculate every consequence. But the problem is that in Port Charles, one desperate choice almost always creates another disaster. The syringe was meant for Drew. At least that is how I read the setup. Drew was supposed to keep receiving the paralysis-inducing drug, possibly on a regular schedule, maybe once a week. But because Nina used that dose on Brennan, Drew may now have a window. And I feel that window is exactly what the story has been waiting for. If the drug begins to wear off, Drew may not stay helpless for long. I do not think he would need to be fully recovered to make a move. In my opinion, Drew is the kind of person who would crawl out of that bed if he believed staying there meant being controlled, silenced, or erased. What makes this so tense for me is that Nina may not immediately realize what she has done. I think her attention is divided in too many directions. She is worried about Valentine, worried about Brennan, worried about Sidwell, worried about Willow, and probably worried about protecting herself. That kind of pressure can make even a smart person miss the most obvious danger. In my opinion, Nina may not be focused on Drew's dosage at all until it is already too late. I can imagine Willow coming home and finding Drew's bed empty. That image alone feels like the kind of scene that would send everything into chaos. I think Willow would panic instantly, not only because Drew is gone, but because his disappearance would mean they have lost control of the story. As long as Drew is unconscious or physically trapped, Nina and Willow can manage the situation. They can delay, explain, hide, or manipulate what others know. But if Drew is awake, moving, and thinking clearly enough to escape, then he becomes a threat with a voice. And that is where I think the drama gets much deeper. Drew would not simply run into the street shouting accusations. At least, I do not think he would. In my opinion, Drew may understand that he is weak, vulnerable, and outnumbered. If he wakes up and realizes what has been done to him, I think his first instinct may be survival, not revenge. He may hide somewhere safe and contact someone quietly. I could see him reaching out to someone who can provide medical help without exposing him too quickly. He may need fluids, medication, tests, or just someone who believes him enough to protect him while he regains strength. I feel like Drew's smartest move would be to disappear before anyone can drag him back. If Nina and Willow discover he is gone, they may search desperately. But if Drew hides well, he can turn their fear against them. In my opinion, the scariest version of Drew is not the weak man escaping from a bed. It is the silent Drew who watches, heals, and gathers evidence before making himself known. I also think Nina's guilt could become a major emotional trap here. Nina saved Valentine, but she may have endangered Willow in the process. That is such a classic Nina conflict to me. I often feel that Nina acts from love, but her love comes wrapped in panic, secrecy, and control. She wants to protect the people she loves, yet she often ends up pulling them deeper into danger. In this case, I think Nina may believe she did the only thing she could do, but when Willow confronts her, I feel Nina may have to admit that she forgot about Drew's dose, or at least failed to handle it in time. Willow's reaction could be explosive. In my opinion, Willow may not just be afraid of Drew, she may be furious at Nina because Nina's mistake could destroy the fragile situation they have been trying to maintain. Willow has already been pulled into morally dangerous territory, and I think she may feel trapped between fear, shame, and anger. If Drew returns with his memory and strength intact, Willow may have to face things she is not ready to face. That could make her lash out at Nina, even if part of her knows Nina was trying to save Valentine. Then there is Sidwell. I feel like Sidwell's role in all of this could become even more threatening if Drew vanishes. In my opinion, Sidwell may not tolerate loose ends. Drew missing means risk. Drew awake means danger. Drew speaking to the wrong person could unravel a whole chain of secrets. I think Sidwell may push Nina and Willow harder than ever, not because he cares about them, but because he cares about control. And once control slips, people like Sidwell become more dangerous. I also keep thinking about Valentine. Nina saved him, but I wonder if that rescue will come with a cost she did not expect. Valentine may be grateful, but he may also see how messy the situation has become. I think Valentine could quickly realize that Drew's escape changes the entire balance of power. In my opinion, Valentine might try to help Nina contain the fallout, but he may also protect himself first. That is what makes him interesting to me. Valentine can love deeply, but he is still a survivor. If Nina's mistake threatens him, I do not think he will simply stand still. Carly being nearby adds another layer. I feel like Carly may eventually sense that something is off. Carly is not the kind of person I expect to ignore nervous behavior, rushed explanations, or sudden disappearances. If Nina suddenly leaves a meeting with Carly and Valentine because Willow calls in a panic, I think Carly may notice. In my opinion, Carly could become a wild card, especially if she starts connecting Drew's condition, Nina's behavior, and Willow's fear. My biggest theory is that Drew may not reveal himself right away. I think he may allow Nina and Willow to believe he is missing and vulnerable while he quietly rebuilds his strength. He could secretly contact someone for medical care, possibly someone outside the obvious circle. I feel he may want proof before he confronts anyone. If he comes forward too early, Nina, Willow, or Sidwell could twist the situation against him. But if he waits, watches, and returns at the perfect moment, he could shock everyone. In my opinion, Drew's return to consciousness could shift the story from a cover-up into a revenge game. I do not mean simple revenge. I mean emotional, legal, and psychological revenge. Drew may want answers. He may want Nina exposed. He may want Willow to admit what she knew. He may want Sidwell taken down. And I think the longer he hides, the more intense his eventual return could feel. Still, I could be wrong. This is just my interpretation based on how I feel the current pieces are moving. Maybe Drew is too weak to get far. Maybe Nina catches the mistake in time. Maybe Willow finds him before he can contact anyone. But personally, I think the story becomes much more powerful if Drew escapes just long enough to terrify everyone who thought they had him under control. For me, Nina's mistake is not just about one missed injection. I think it represents the collapse of a much bigger illusion. Nina, Willow, and possibly Sidwell may believe they are managing the situation, but Drew waking up could prove that control was always temporary. One syringe saved Valentine, but in my opinion, it may have awakened the one person who can destroy everything they are trying to hide. And now I keep wondering, if Drew really does get away, who would he trust first, and who should be the most afraid when he finally comes back?